Hi Isabella, you get your own personal video for the notes for 2.1.4. I apologize for this taking so long to get to you. Just a few things going on right now, and so but I'm getting to this today, and so hopefully this will help you work through everything that you need to do in chapter 2. So on this notes worksheet, we skipped this top part here, okay, and we talked about how triangle sum basically is an idea that says all of the angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. What we focused on was part D here in problem 2-37, where I went through an explanation mathematically of why that's true. So we took a look at this picture here and noticed that we had a pair of parallel lines. And so we started thinking about what that means in terms of alternate interior angles, corresponding angles, all of those special angle pairs that we have with parallel lines and transversals. And so the first question is, why is angle A congruent to angle D? And the reason is because if we take a look at these two parallel lines and this transversal, angle A and angle D are alternate interior angles. And then the next question is, why is angle C congruent to angle E? And again, if you use those parallel lines and this transversal, C and E are also alternate interior angles. And then the third question is, why does D plus B plus E have to equal to 180 degrees? And the reason is because the three of them together form this straight line. So 1, 2, 3, they should all add up to 180 degrees. So then the last question is, then why do those three angles in the triangle, A, B, and C, have to add up to 180 degrees? Well, if we know that D plus B plus E is equal to 180, and from this statement right here, A is the same as D, so I'm going to replace D with the measure of angle A. And from this statement right here, I know that C and E have the same measure, so I'm going to replace E with C, okay? And then B is going to stay the same because it's present in both setups. It's part of these three angles that form the line, and it's part of the three angles in the triangle. Now we have A plus B plus C should also equal 180 degrees, okay? So there's our little proof, or our little explanation of why the measures of the angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. The rest of these problems are just some practice applying that, okay? So in these two here, you've got three angles in the triangle that are marked, some with numbers, some with letters and expressions, and we're just setting up an equation. Like, for example, this first one, x plus 40 plus 80 should equal 180 degrees, and you're solving for x. You're going to do something similar in problem B as well, and I will let you work on that on your own. On the back side of the notes page in problem 2-39, you're using what we know about congruent sides in triangles to help us find the measures of the angles. For example, in problem A here, these markings mean all three sides are congruent. In B, these two sides are congruent. In C, these two sides are congruent. And we had an idea that we talked about a couple sections ago where we said, look, using symmetry, if two sides in a triangle are congruent to each other, then that means the angles opposite those sides are going to be congruent. So skipping ahead to part B here, so using symmetry, if I put in a line of symmetry here, those two sides are congruent, that means these two angles are congruent to each other. These two angles would have to be congruent to each other. In an equilateral triangle like we have in A, because all three sides are congruent, all three angles would be congruent to each other. So I want you to use that idea to help to see if you can figure out what the measures of the angles in the triangle would be. If you don't have enough information, then go ahead and write that you don't have enough information. Okay, and then in problem 2-40, this is one of those problems that has the multiple angles, kind of like your angle game, worksheets. And so you're just using all of your relationships to help you out. You might be using vertical angles, supplementary angles. You might be using corresponding angles. You might be using alternate interior angles, same side interior angles. You're using all of those, and also possibly now triangle sum, because you have that triangle in the center there, to figure out all the missing angle measures. So what I'd like you to do is try to work through these practice problems in the notes, and when you're done, send me a picture of your work, and I can check that for you and see how you did on these practice problems that the class did together. All right, good luck. Let me know if you have any questions.